Hi, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Lifestyle with Dr. Moby. I'm Dr. Moby, and today we are honored with great guests. Let's welcome Ms Nookie. How are you, ma'am?
I'm very well. Thank you, Dr. Moby. I am honored to be here. I just want to let you know how grateful I am to have this opportunity to speak on your program today.
Oh, yes, thank you. Sorry, Carl could not join us today, but we'll be very happy to still give you the best we can.
Yeah.
So, also tell me a little bit about yourself. What do you do?
Okay, so my name is Ms Nookie, and I created Natural's Nook, which is an
Mhm,
online sex and relationship radio talk show.
mhm,
It airs on Wednesdays, 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. on soundchatradio.com. So soundchatradio.com, it caters to the Caribbean diaspora. My family is from Jamaica. I was born in America, so that's where that comes in. And I created Natural's Nook because there are so many things that people are into or don't know how to do. They may be afraid to ask people, or they just may be afraid to be themselves. So I created Natural's Nook as I call it a cozy safe haven for all things sexual.
mhm.
So that's a little background as to why I created it.
Okay, very nice, very nice. And so, how long you been doing this?
I started in January of 2018. Started in
Okay.
January of 2018, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm in radio now, and the response that I get from people and from my clients, I love that I can help people be their truest self.
Very nice, very nice. Now, so we have quite a few calls about, relationships, and they always ask, few questions which are very important. Is first is, what is a relationship? What is important about relationship versus, living by yourself? So relationship can be with significant, or could be friend, or could be family. So I I think it kind of is a collective term, right?
It definitely is a collective term because we have relationships everywhere, just like you
Hmm.
said. Whether
Hmm.
it's romantic or with friends or with family, there are varying levels and varying types of love.
Hmm.
But the
Hmm.
one that seems the hardest to obtain is the romantic love.
Very right. And we'll ask you more on that, but tell me something common in all of them. So, what do you see common in all kind of relationships?
Well, in all kind of relationships, it's that give and take.
Hmm.
Two people have to agree to like each other. They have to agree to be compassionate to each other.
Hmm.
So it's that likability, that true friendship, that true family love, because not all families may love each other. We think
Hmm.
they should, but they may not. But a true relationship on any level is all about the respect that two people have for each other. That's the basis of it. Because if you respect each other, you're compassionate to each other.
And that's important because now, so what I was trying to emphasize is, most of relationships, whether it's friends or whether it's, they have a basic theme, and that is common to all. Now, romantic is a little different. There are add-ons things to different relationships, but the basic thing, like you said, respect for each other, as well as recognition that there are limits for each kind of relationship, and it take give and take, so it's both ways.
Yes, both
And
ways.
so no relationship can be one-sided.
No, one-sided relationships, I believe, are narcissistic relationships where
Hmm.
one person is just feeding off of the other. In
Hmm.
relationships, you're technically feeding each other.
That is true.
No
Technically.
person is starving for anything, starving for attention. So
Mm.
you feed each other in relationships.
Mm. And now I'll ask you a little bit more about with COVID, what COVID has done to relationships overall, and specifically then we'll come to romantic relationships.
Well, with COVID and romantic relationships, COVID,
Mm-hmm,
I believe, has either made relationships or has broken relationships.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Prior to COVID, we were able to have our hobbies, we were able to have our escape. We were able
mm-hmm,
to go and hang with our friends if we needed to decompress and get away from anything that may be going on. But during COVID, we were forced to sit with each other. We were forced to truly live with each other for 24/7.
mm-hmm,
So in those moments, you
mm-hmm,
either talk about,
mm-hmm,
any issues that you may be having, because every
mm-hmm,
relationship has issues. Even the most perfect relationships, they all have their little underlying issues. So you were either able to talk
mm-hmm,
constructively to
mm-hmm,
deal with those issues, or you weren't able to talk constructively.
mm-hmm,
So you either got closer together, or you started to realize that, you know what, maybe this isn't the person that I really want to be with. So COVID, it either made or broke relationships. I know one of the statistics were that domestic violence increased significantly during COVID.
mm-hmm,
And that's because no one had our escape. We never had that escape. Those moments
mm-hmm,
where we can just breathe.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and it is interesting. I saw that fact too, that of course domestic violence increased as well as all kind of other problems with it. So it always is interesting to study that phenomena, that when we have a stressful situation, which pandemic was, it was a stress test for all kind of relationships, right? And
Yes.
then why did we see, when you have a stressful situation, why would we see more abuse? Was that because it came out because it was a stressful situation, or was that? So I always think that inside, or the basic originality of everybody is actually love, because that's the first emotion anybody is taught when you open your eyes, right? You're taught about smile, and you're taught about love, and not about hate or any kind of negative. That is afterwards. I mean,
Yes.
baby always smile. And then, so what the question is, where we get stuck when we get stressed. If we regressed, uh, I doubt if we regress. Probably we somehow kind of maladaptive way of handling the stress, right?
Well, I think where everything goes awry is when we actually start to open our mouths and communicate.
Mm-hmm.
And it all depends on how you were able to communicate as a child. Because I
Mm-hmm.
believe as adults, we are all a result of our childhood.
Yeah.
So if you had a childhood in which your parents allowed you to have your say, have an opinion, allowed you to speak, then you are more able to communicate as an adult. Whereas if you had the type of parents who said, do as you're told, don't speak in adults' presence, children should be seen and not heard, then your voice becomes muted.
Mm-hmm.
Your voice becomes muted, and then you suppress whatever feelings you have that aren't happy.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get to say, I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then
So
that simple phrase, I don't like that, can turn into a girl, 20 years old in a relationship, knowing that something isn't right, and she just can't say, I don't like that, because she was never able to really say or stand up for herself to say what she likes and doesn't like, because we as parents, we tend to think we know everything.
mm-hmm.
I'm a parent myself. I have a 14-year-old son,
Mm-hmm.
and I tried my best to raise him differently. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I know that we as parents, we make the overall decisions. So when
Mm-hmm.
he was a child, I would always give him two options that I'm okay with and allow him to choose so that he would feel a little bit of ownership, a little bit of pride to say, okay, mommy allowed me to do this. So it's, to me, we as parents now, if we just change our mindset with our children in terms of how to deal with them, we
Mm-hmm.
will create better adults. Because even now that my son is 14, and 14-year-olds, they are full of opinions. And even now, even if he's saying something that I don't like, or if it's a situation that I don't like something that he's done, I allow him to speak, because he needs to have his voice. He needs to be able to speak up for himself. So I think we just need to rethink the way we raise our children, and we need to be a little bit more compassionate about the adults who we encounter along this journey of life, because we don't know why they are the way that they are.
Mm. Yeah, and that's important, is to kind of give them tools to understand themselves actually. So,
Yes.
and I think that brings the important discussion is that if they don't like something, they say, I don't like this part or this. So, if, instead of being non-specific and rejecting the whole narrative, and they can say, no, I don't like this action or this portion or this thing,
Exactly.
right? Because this, because there is, humans and any relationship, I'm sure everybody has good part about their relationship and a bad part. Some reason the bad part gets stuck, and then and that keeps on making those all kind of wrong decisions about that relationship. So they can say, no, I don't like the way you dress or the way you talk, the way you express, so that is the healthier approach, right? So if you
It's- yes, it's definitely the healthier approach.
mm,
And to piggyback on that and to give the opposite side of that,
mm,
it's
mm,
the whole concept of effective communication is listening to understand rather than
mm,
listening to respond. So if your lover, or
mm,
someone says, I don't like the way you touched me,
mm,
the person who is hearing this, their response shouldn't be, but I didn't touch you hard. I don't understand why you don't like it. It should be, I understand that you did not like how I
mm,
touched you. Like, we like to we like to tell everyone how they feel when they tell us that they're feeling something that is negative.
mm,
We try to force people to not feel what they feel.
mm,
So that's one of the things that I tell my clients who may come to me, who are having disagreements. Are you listening to understand? Because when you're talking to someone and someone says something that's accusatory or negative towards you, your brain automatically triggers to start firing back. Well, you did this and you did this and you did this. Your brain doesn't stop and say, what are they saying? Am I understanding what they're saying? And am I processing what they're saying? And even in those moments, if someone
mm,
is saying something that you don't like, and
mm,
it gets your temperature boiling and you're ready to argue, we need to be cognizant of that. We need to be able to step away from the conversation and say, okay, I need to process this. So can we pick up this conversation later? Like, these are
mm.
simple things that we just weren't taught to do, but there's simple mindset changes that can help relationships and help people to communicate effectively moving forward.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah, and that those are simple tools, and so relationship can be very simple if we make it simple, or it could be very difficult if we want to make it difficult.
Exactly. and,
So,
and exactly, because and when we're in relationships and when we're looking for relationships, romantic relationships, that is, lots of times we honestly don't know what we want. We honestly don't know what we want. We have this idea. We may
mhm,
see people in love, or we watch all of these fairy tale movies. Oh, two
mhm,
people meet, they fall in love, they live happily ever after. It's not like that in real life. So sometimes we have unrealistic ideas of what a relationship is, and
Mhm.
especially for women.
Mhm.
Yes, we may have been told as children to not speak much, so then we get in a relationship and we're looking for our Prince Charming, and we just expect our Prince Charming to know how to love us, how to please us. We expect them to be psychic. And then men are confused because they're not psychic. And when they ask a woman what they want, women will say, "Well, you should know." So
Yeah.
see, there's the communication breakdown.
Mm.
If when people first, well, what I like to tell people, if you're looking for a relationship, or even if you're in a relationship, one of the primary things you need to do is learn about yourself.
Mhm.
You need self-love.
Mm.
Once you know yourself and you love yourself, other people will come to love you in the way that you deserve to be loved.
Mhm.
But that's a very hard thing, to really look inside yourself. Because when you're looking inside yourself, you're looking at the positive and negative aspects of you. And you
Mhm.
need to love all of you.
Yeah.
You need to love your angels and your demons, because
That is.
because the demons are there. Yes, they're there. Some of them we have used for bad, but the
Mhm.
demons are there so that we're not taken advantage of. And I
Mm.
think people don't think about that. The negative characteristics that we have, they are there to kick in during survival mode situations.
Mm.
So we can't get rid of them. We need them. We need to address them. Because I
Mhm.
always tell, especially my clients who are dating, who are looking for love, no one can love you more than you love yourself.
Mm.
People are only going to love you at the level that you love yourself. If you're a person who you don't know how to implement boundaries, then
Mhm.
people are going to love you and walk all over you because
Yeah.
you have not created those boundaries. But when you have those boundaries, people are going to respect you and love you in the way that you deserve to be loved, the way that you should be loved.
Mhm. And that is so true. And also tell me a little bit about with romantic, and with little bit we talk a little bit about men's side and women's side. Now, for sake of discussion, this also applies to same sex also, and for any relationship, because
Yes.
the basics are same. So we are talking about, so what is so special about romantic relationships? Is that the gain is important in that versus what people are looking for?
In terms of romantic relationships, it's all about companionship.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, no matter who you are, no matter how you identify, you all want someone to sit on the porch and talk to when you're 80 and 90 years old.
Okay.
So that's the true basis. Now, when the romance come in and the love comes in, that's a whole different type of euphoria.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a feeling that everyone should have. And I just wanted to go back to what you were saying. Yes, we're talking about men and women, but ultimately we are all humans, no
Yeah.
matter how you identify. And we all basically work the same way inside in terms of emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to leave out, the LGBTQ community, because we all need love. We all deserve love. But
Yeah.
what we're talking about in terms of the connection, it's a human thing.
Yeah.
So it's not specific. We have our issues because of how we identify, but at our core, we all have the same feelings. We all desire the same thing. It's just
Mm-hmm.
coming in various forms, but it's that connection. It's that bond. It's that
Mm-hmm.
having someone who knows what you're thinking before you say it.
Mm-hmm.
That person who has compassion for you, the
Mm-hmm.
person who wants to see you grow, who wants to see you happy, that person who sees you as a flower and all
Mm-hmm.
they want to do is water you and give you sunshine. That's what we're looking for. That's what everyone is looking for.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
You nailed it. Okay, great. Okay, so also tell me a little bit about some of the clients you would like to share any positive message or anything you
Well, yeah.
really remember about.
One thing that people lose sight of in relationships, because when you're in a relationship and you're 2 3 months, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, life takes over. Life takes over. You have children, or you have careers, or you have to take care of your elderly parents. Life takes over, and we forget to make time for each other. We forget to make time. We forget to have date nights. We
Mhm,
forget to touch each other. So I have one couple who I'm dealing with, and they argue a lot and they feel very disconnected. So the first thing I did, I had them, sit down and write a list about each other,
mm,
the good and the bad, and be able to switch the list and sit down and talk
mm,
about the list, and how they can work on being better, to having more positives than negatives. That's
mhm,
one thing that I did with them. And after they did that, then that's the communication side, that's the effective communication. And the other side is touch.
mhm,
So while they were working on their list and having their communication, the first thing I told them to do, I said, every day moving forward, I want you guys to kiss and hug each other for at least 15 seconds every day,
mhm,
before you leave each other, when you see each other, throughout the day. Because that extra time, that 15, it sounds so simple, 15 seconds. You
yeah.
start to, when your bodies are touching, when your lips are touching, that electricity starts to flow again. That's why touch is so important. And then after they went through their list, and they dealt with their issues, I said, the next thing that I want you guys to do, I want you guys to make love every day for 21 days, in a different position every day.
Wow,
And
interesting.
they are like two high school kids now. They're like high schoolers again. They
Wow.
found that love back. They got that love back. They rekindled it. They reconnected. And as you can see, the tips that I gave them are simple tips,
Hmm. Yeah.
and now they make more time for each other. They actually schedule their date nights, because couples will say, yes, we need a date night. We need a date night. We need a date night. But if it's not in your phone, because our phones, we use our phones for everything. I know for me, if it's not in my calendar, I'm most likely going to miss it.
Hmm.
So we need to think about that in terms of our love life as well. We
Hmm.
think that it should automatically happen and it should be intrinsic, but it's not. But if you
Hmm.
plan it, say, okay, on November 13th at 8 p.m., we're going to go to the restaurant where we first met each other. If it's in your calendar, it's more likely to happen than not. So you have to actually schedule things, not just talk about things. So these are the little
And
things
that,
that I like to tell my couples.
okay, that is beautiful. Simple, but very effective. Ms Nookie, that is amazing work you're doing and spreading the love.
Thank you.
Okay. So also, any final thoughts you have for my audience? Huh?
Well, I just want to say, you know, love each other,
Mm,
be compassionate to each other. And if you can, just say hello to people in general. When you see
mm,
someone passing, if you see something they have on that looks nice, tell them. Because you never
yeah.
know what state of mind people are in. You never know what they're going through. And do this with your lover. Do this with your lover. Think about the last time you actually really gave your lover a compliment. These are the simple things to reconnect. Don't forget about your inner child. We all have that inner child.
Mm,
And in love, sometimes you just gotta let loose and make your life turn into a musical where you just jump out and break out into song and dance.
And that's
Stay-
true.
yes,
So no, that's true, and that also, by the way, stands for any relationship, whether it's friend, relative, or
yes.
whatever. If you don't, there is an inner child for all of us. I mean, me, you, all of us. We love to have some good compliments anytime, any day. Even a brief one. I love, and actually, I have seen that what you are telling is exactly right. Even you're passing by, if you see something you want to, I think there are two things. If you give somebody compliment, you see you yourself actually feel good. You know,
Exactly,
um,
because you made someone smile.
yeah, and you feel good because you appreciate somebody's good. That too, I think too. If you're in a bad mood, even if you appreciate somebody good, your mood actually changes right away.
It does
Because
because you see the change in the person. Like
mm,
I've especially women, because
mm,
women may not always get along. And for me, when I compliment a woman on something, her whole entire demeanor changes. She just looks so happy. And sometimes they could have on something that they've had for 20 years, but because someone compliments them about it, it just makes them feel good. Every day
mm,
we get up and we get dressed. Why? To be noticed, to be recognized.
mm, that's
It's
true.
really that simple.
That is true. Well, please tell my audience where to find you, and then I will wrap this up.
No problem. So on Instagram, it's at Naturals Nook, NatralsNook. And on Facebook, I have a Ms Nookie fan page. And if you want to email me for any questions or anything, it's Miss Nookie NN. That's MSNOOKIENN at gmail.com. And I'm here. I'm here for you guys. And I just want to say thank you once again, Dr. Carl, and I mean, sorry, Dr. Moby and Carl. Thank you so
Mhm.
much for having me here.
Thank you. It was great learning from you, and take care.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.